Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. Now we shift our focus to Edo State. Yesterday, the news broke that the current governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki, had been disqualified from participating in the forthcoming primary election of the All Progressives Congress APC on the grounds that his higher school certificate, HSC, and NYSC were defective. The news has sparked all kinds of reactions from politicians and Nigerians in general. We're going to be looking at that this morning with Mrs. Julie Odigie Oyegun, a member of the... A political commentator. Thank you very much, Nyota. And she's here with us in Lagos. Good morning, Mrs. Odigie Oyegun.
Good morning.
And we have in our Abuja studio an APC chieftain, Mr. Cletus Obon. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. Now, Julie, this is disturbing news because Mr. Obaseki is not contesting elections for the first time. He took part in the primaries before he won the primaries and was voted in as governor. So what happened to his certificates between then and now?
Maybe the tooth fairy got them. Look, I think the discussion is bigger than Obaseki and disqualification. I think that historically, Edo State has always been a crucible of unfolding events in the broader Nigeria. If you go all the way back to the Civil War, even colonialism. I mean, the place of the Midwest. You go all the way back to the Benin Empire and expansion. It's a crucible, and so you want to look at this in the broader and deeper sense, beyond Obaseki, disqualification, or Shomole. You want to look at it in the context of Nigeria's democracy, particularly on June 12th, right? Quo vadis. And we have to ask ourselves how serious we are about building a really deep democracy that can serve the people. Inevitably, you have a political class. Some people like to call them a political elite. In my private moments, I call them the political entitled, okay? But it's a bigger deal than just an incumbent, effective, successful, popular governor being disqualified in a situation where the party could have opted for a consensus decision, to let him continue the great work he's doing, particularly in the context of the COVID emergency. Okay.
Now, Mr. Obon, does this have anything to do with the feud and the bad blood between himself and the national chairman of the party?
Well, one of the things that has not been in the public space, first let me correct the impression, each time I come on there and I'm being addressed as an APC chieftain, it asks me, I hold no title or office in the APC. I'm an APC member, but first I'm a professional, a media consultant, an academic, and all that. But please, I would prefer to be referred to as a good governance and public policy analyst. That is first of all. The second thing is that in the so-called bad blood, in all that you have got on the public space, in the social media, it's all been about emotions and emotionality. We've not gotten into what did he do. It's not enough to talk about what has transpired. The party as it is now does not belong to the National Executive Committee of the party. It doesn't belong to the National Working Committee. It belongs to all of us. We are all stakeholders. And stakeholders are the ones who go for screening, are the ones who go for primaries. It is never any member of the executive. And if you now make them look like robots or puppets, with the National Executive Committee headed by Adams Oshomole as a puppeteer, then you are reducing the intelligence of every member of the party. And the party is not like that. You can now look at them, the profile of all those who lead the party. So what has happened here is that issues arose on account of his own evidence. He went into election in 2016. He was working with Adams Oshomole as his economic advisor. Adams had praised him on the basis of the knowledge of what he presented himself to be. Upon further probing, and by his own presentation, interrogation came upon the papers he presented and swore on oath to. That is what is at issue by the screening committee. The screening committee is not a research committee to go back and start finding out from UI, that is a matter for our opponents in PDP. But we cannot, after Bayelsa yesterday, not up to 3 months, we just suffered that in Bayelsa, from the Supreme Court. So that has become a legislation for Nigeria, a benchmark for taking decision about names. The Supreme Court has taken that decision. And overnight, we now start deifying and making untouchables out of sitting governors or out of sitting senators or out of sitting president. We cannot afford that as a party. If this thing is persisting and our opponents get it after we have won our election, the same party members will come out to say due diligence was not done as it was in Bayelsa. And now due diligence is being done by a screening committee made up of very credible people. Look at the screening committee, look at the appeal committee, and then the courts are there. So what is happening here is simply on the basis of the papers. Maybe I will give you a narrative about what has transpired. In 2016, this governor ran elections against PDP, and he swore on oath that he went to secondary school, Egosa Grammar School, in 1970, graduated in 1973, that he proceeded to UI, and that he graduated in 1976, and that by 1975, he did what the equivalent of a higher school and brought out a testimonial to whom it may concern, saying that he wrote 5 papers. The result of those 5 papers were never given. And in the WAEC that he wrote in 1973 from Egosa Grammar School, he said he has 3 credits and 3 passes. And that does not include English and maths. It was geography, literature, and one more subject, Bible knowledge. That is Christian religious studies.
So, please permit me to interrupt you here briefly. We need to go on a very quick break. But when we come back, you pick it up from that point where you're talking about the governor and the document he declared in 2016. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Mr. Bond, you were talking about the criteria in 2016 as against what's happening now.
Now, these documents were deposed to by an affidavit in a court of law, competent court of law here in Abuja, and presented to the National Executive Committee and received by the National Organizing Secretary of the party, stamped. Those are the documents the screening committee looked at and which were brought as petition by his opponents in the primaries. Now, where we are is that in fact, the 3 of them that were disqualified, only one person was on the basis of the internal affairs, interfering with the internal affairs of the party. The other one was again on the issue of names. I'm asking Nigerians to tell whether APC will be doing itself justice if, again, on the basis of names, a candidate is presented who wins an election after going through all the torture, only to be taken to court by the opponent and victory snatched to us 24 hours to the swearing in of our governor, as it happened in Bayelsa State. I don't know whether Nigerians are looking at this. We are not saying the quarrel with Obaseki and his friend Comrade Oshomole. That is not where APC is. Beyond Edo State, APC must exist. That's the only foothold we have in the South-South. It is only in Edo State we have a sitting governor. And we have this issue of names again, that we were almost getting Bayelsa and we lost it by the deputy governor, who was already in the House, in the Senate on the second occasion, a second-term senator. It was only discovered by the Supreme Court that his name was actually a problem to him. And we're having the same issue of names again, and Nigerians don't want to look at that. They're looking about the quarrel, a sitting governor. Like Caesar's wife, you must live above suspicion. And in any case, like Longinus will tell you, the English literary critic, that one of the first attributes of a critic is skepticism. So suspicion is the first attribute of an eagle-eyed political person who is going to be exposed. In Nigeria and elsewhere, if you want to know who you are, go and contest elections. That is when you know who your grandfather was. That's when you know who your grandmother was. It is therefore against the background of the injuries we suffered. We are still nursing that injury in Bayelsa. nobody in APC is going to submit himself to another matter. And in any case, if anybody is in doubt, Justice Vivor, Justice of the Supreme Court, early this year, ruled that the internal affairs of the party include screening, and that once the screening has taken place, not even a court of law can question into how a party disqualifies its candidate. In the case of Engineer Suleiman versus APC, this year, Justice Vivor...
Mr. Obon, thank you. Mr. Obon, we'll come back to you. Mr. Deacon, this conversation as regards the screening, he kept alluding to injuries from Bielsa, What does that say of the structure of the process of screening of candidates?
Well, I'd like to know what criteria make for a good governor, okay? They may be screening for certificates and how a name is spelt and where T's are crossed and I's are dotted. I think the people on the street, if you look at the quality of citizenship, I, the citizen, we the people, what we care about is he going to deliver? Now, if the party isn't looking at character, what are they looking at? You've got somebody who has been qualified, who is of absolutely questionable character, quoting the chairman of the party from 2016. He gets through, and the guy who's done an amazing job, who is doing an amazing job. Look, in Edo State, in spite of COVID, which was ex-budget, it landed on everybody from out of the blue, from left field, right? He's paid salaries and pensions, not just paid them on time, but early, because Ramadan was coming to an end, okay? I mean, you're talking about a governor who has managed the state for resilience in spite of dropping income flows from the federal government, and we all know what the scenario is at the center, okay? And also in terms of internally generated revenue, which he had boosted because he controlled the Agbero politics. He managed to get that out of the way so that revenues that were due to government are actually flowing into government. Now you've got COVID. He stopped a lot of the taxes from the market women, from the transporters in the the motor parks, et cetera, so that people can survive COVID, okay? In spite of this, this guy's paying salaries, paying pensions on time, okay? Drop in revenues. All capital projects ongoing to completion, right? Kids are going to school, not in school, but at home because he's got Edo Best. He brought back hundreds of illegal immigrants who were detained and stranded in various ports all over the Mediterranean. He brought them back and he's finding them jobs. I mean, I don't know what criteria matter to APC, but let me tell you, we the people, what matters to us, can he deliver? Has he delivered? Will he continue to deliver? What is happening here is a broken promise. What we heard in 2016 was, let the people lead. Well, hello, where are the people in this disqualification epic saga? Okay, this is more than Nollywood, because now we're not dealing with fiction, we're dealing with fact. What do the people get out of this shenanigans?
The short end of the stick. Mr. Obon, do you not think that the APC is going to end up shooting its foot in all of this?
Absolutely.
You know, APC is a very progressive party. When we talk about performance, nobody has judged him. If we go into that index, on Thursday, early this week, either on your channel or on channels, the man himself came in here and admitted that there were errors, especially when he couldn't commission the hospital that he stopped. He said it was an error when it was 75% completed. If we want to get into that index, you remember also the case of the 14/24 members of the House of Assembly who are still staying out. We can also discuss the breaking down of hotels and the bombing of people's houses who disagree with the governor. We can get into that. We're into a near siege mentality. The allegations of people being piled up to come and unleash violence on the day of election. There is the internal injury of the governor trying to stop people from going to do direct primaries when you know that even in direct primaries will require that people in the wards, every card-carrying member must vote for a delegate before that delegate gets to Ogbe Stadium. So in all this, we look at the issue first. He does very well. You have a bad man doing a good thing or a good man doing a bad thing. That is where we are. So you must choose one. First, we are saying that He is qualified. That's why he was in the first place allowed to even buy a form. In the case of Lagos, if you remember Ambode, what did Ambode not do well? He did well. But the people, and indeed the Lagos state got there, and they told us that we will lose Lagos if Ambode, a sitting governor, leaves. Of course, you saw the result. Today, we are back here in Edo State. I can ask you that if the man wins, we agree he's doing very well. But we are saying that on the basis of the records, which is the qualification for you to go and do well, do you now allow the man go and do, and then only for PDP to come and snatch it from us from the court? Nobody has denied that fact. Nobody has disputed this fact, that the records are not straight enough for us to present this man. That is where we are. We are not into performance. If we want to deal with performance, we will not judge whether the person we are bringing to replace him will do better or not. That's a matter of conjecture, speculation, and emotion. But here we are dealing with the fact that by the documents before us, even if you are doing very well, if you go, they are going to take us out. And that's what we are saying. And we are saying again that we should stop dropping names because the internal injuries.
So the question that Mr. Digio you're going to ask is, what about the desire of the citizens? Her statement says, this is a question of broken promise. Let the people lead. She is of the people, and they are feeling like they want someone that would deliver and can continue to deliver. So is the party in doing this screening considering... Yes?
We did not, the people who are contesting are not from Cross River State. The people who are contesting with him are not from Ondo State. They are from Edo State. So if it is the people, I don't know. It is not a matter of plurality of opinion and a decision of the people by vote. Let the people lead means let the majority of APC members take a decision about who leads them and who carries their ticket. And it is those state APC members. It is not the National Executive Committee of the party. It is not those screening members who are not even from Edo State that are going to do the voting. It is Edo people who are, there are 6 of them there. Some of them are the personal friends of the governor. They are contesting against him. So if they feel that he should take the right of first, which is not a part of our constitution, then clearly you will see that what we are preventing is that if we say go, this is what will happen to us. And we are preventing that. Is prevention no longer better than cure? And I ask you, when you talk about performance, we are going to perform on the basis of what? On the basis that you will win election and remain in office. And we are saying you won't remain in office on the basis of what you have presented. So it will be worse for us to shoot ourselves in the foot by presenting a candidate we know ab initio that does not qualify, and we will now bring him in. And the party constitution, and indeed the Nigerian constitution, and our law, like I have quoted Justice Vivor's judgment, the interference with internal screening is what destroyed us in Bayelsa. And APC does not want to pass through that road again.
Okay.
Because the man who was disqualified was voted.
I beg your pardon, Mr. Abon, but the University of Ibadan has sent out a statement saying that he did actually attend the university, gave the dates he was admitted and the dates that he graduated.
The dates for me. The dates he himself said he entered the University of Ibadan in 1973, graduated in 1976, had a high school certificate with 5 papers, high school certificate in the process of going through the degree program in 1975, that he went to youth service in 1979, 3 years after graduation. Whatever may have happened is a different matter completely. That is not where we were contesting, because he may have gone to do repetition of some courses. But that is not where we are. We are saying, does this tally with our conventional university system in Nigeria? And the certificate, do we have 5 papers? Do you write paper at any stage in our educational system? Do you write 5 papers in A levels? There was a point in which there were 4 papers, the 3 specific papers and the general paper. At a point, they took away the general paper and allowed 3 papers. I went through higher school, so I should know. I'm an academic, so I should know. And I have people who have graduated from the University of Ibadan within the same period, and I should know. And you have a certificate in which one, the registrar signs with the vice chancellor, another one in which only the vice chancellor signs, and then you have no date on the certificate. Even the affidavit he swore had no date on it. Go and check it. It's filed by him in a court of competent jurisdiction. These are the details that frighten us. The time to go and do investigation, it may go after the election. So we cannot go. It is on the basis of what you present. You cannot subject the screening committee to become an investigative committee, because that matter is even of a criminal nature, because that's perjury, lying on oath. That's a different matter completely. And until this country gets to a stage in which people are punished for lying and wasting public resources and taking public resources, this kind of situation will arise in which people lie and proceed to benefit from their lies or from their fraud or from their crime. So crime has no expiry date, as has been demonstrated in the 3 governors that have been sent to detention or to jail. Example, Darie. Example, Oju just spent some days now. That matter took over 12 years to decide and all that. So crime has no expiry date. So we are saying for the purpose of APC being our member, nobody is going to take criminal proceedings, but we won't risk taking him to an election in which we are so certain that we will not. As for the man they are referring to as a man who has a questionable character, 14 times Atiku went to court on the purpose of, for the reason that he was indicted. The Supreme Court said an indictment is not a conviction. And the man whom they are talking about who was qualified has never been convicted by any court. He is under investigation. Until that happens, even if you are on trial for murder, until there is a conviction, you are qualified to take your rights in Nigeria as a citizen. Unless you are under sentence of death, then you are disqualified. But as long as you are just on trial, no law in Nigeria bars you from contesting an election or holding public office. And that is where we are. We are saying as a party, we cannot take a risk with this man giving us credentials that we are sure will end us the way of Bayelsa.
The matter...
Yes, I'm here.
One of the things that a lot of people have talked about is the process of recruitment, leadership recruitment. Now Mr. Bon has continued to talk about this internal screening of the party. They don't want that to come and haunt them at the end. Apparently, that kind of screening wasn't done before.
Homework.
So Bayelsa was an eye-opener for them. But going forward, what should be?
I think character, and for a sitting governor, definitely performance. Okay, I mean, I think performance is the best predictor of how a sitting governor is likely to continue. I think if we are to go by history in terms of performance, and if you look at the slate of people that you're qualifying, okay, you ought to be able to look back into the antecedents and say, what are they likely to do if they're given the opportunity and the key to the treasury, okay, from the perspective of the people. Look, you can reel off, I'm a lawyer, okay? I went to school with Rhodes Fiver. You can reel off all kinds of bogeyman defensiveness. You can have the tail wagging the dog. You can go on, and see ghosts wherever you choose. The point is, it's not good for APC that they cannot get their house in order, so that Bayelsa now becomes the hammer and everything else is a nail. Okay? This is not about Bayelsa. As far as the Edo people are concerned, as far as I am concerned as an Edo citizen, okay, what matters to me is this guy doing what we need him to do to take us out of, relative darkness to light, okay? Somebody said to me this morning that he can hear the abundance of rain, the coming of rain, okay? And I see in this governor not the hurdle that is calling itself APC right now. I see for him, and the people, I can attest to that, see with him a bright tomorrow, a brighter tomorrow. That's something we say a lot in our state, okay? I don't think that APC and its internal machinations and whatever criteria it chooses to use should dictate whether our people move forward or not with a governor who clearly is taking us somewhere, okay? I think that the minority called a group within APC has fashioned itself into some form of a majority, okay? Whereas the true majority knows exactly what it wants.
The people.
Yeah, and I defy them. I defy them, neck for neck. Let's see who the people want. I defy them.
Okay. Mr. Bon, in closing, all this is actually causing people to focus on democracy again. So what hope for democracy in light of all this that's going on?
Well, let me say this. It is part of our own cleansing process. If APC must live up to its own credo of being a progressive party that has come to bring change, then things have to be changed, and changed fundamentally and not superficially. the continuous reference to the majority of Edo people and the people and the people. We have records and results. In the last elections, as sitting governor, this popularity test, in any case, don't forget that governance in the first place is not a popularity test. Governance is not a popularity test. After election, the popularity issue gets down, and popularity is based on functionality. Nobody has questioned the last regime of Adams Oshimole. Nobody has questioned it. Nobody has doubted it, and every person in Edo State knows that they were. And of course, the present governor was part of that team, so he should know. If you now have to use that as a benchmark, I was in the first anniversary of Oshimole in government. The chairman of the ceremony was Samuel Ogbemodia. Ogbemodia was a PDP chieftain. He was the chairman of that. Wole Soyinka was in that meeting. The late Matama Sule was in that meeting. And we were all celebrating 1 year in office.
Wind down now. I'm sorry, because I told you you only had 1 minute. I need to take the last word from Mrs. Odige Oyegun.
Thank you.
The last word in 30 seconds.
Well, here's our last word, and you know, I'm very loosely representing the people of Edo State here, but confidently. Here's our last word: where he goes, we go. Where he goes, we go.
Boom. Mrs. Julie Odige Oyegun, an activist, and she says she represents loosely the people of Edo State. She joined us from our studio in Lagos, and the policy analyst, Mr. Cletus Obun, who joined us from our studio in Abuja. Thank you very much for coming to look at the Edo matter with us. We wish you all luck in the primaries and in the coming elections. Sunrise will return in just a moment with another interesting conversation. Do stay with us.